welcome everyone to Just Talking About Jesus. I am so excited to have Bartholomew James here today to tell his story, which was, I heard his testimony and I just thought, oh no, we got to have this guy on here because he will be such a blessing to everyone. Hi, Bartholomew.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. I'm glad you're here.
I'm
So,
glad to
I don't know. Where do we want to start? I don't know. Did you grow up with any Christian going to church, any knowledge of God, anything? What was your growing up like?
Okay, so that's a good place to start. So I got my younger years, I had my biological parents were they would go to church, but it was showy, I didn't and I don't really remember that much because once I turned 6, I got taken into foster care. And then from there, it just was dependent on the house that I lived in. I've lived in people who practice Buddhist, people who practice Scientology, people who practice Mormonism, Catholicism, all of it. I've been in that house,
Hmm.
and so uh, the hard part for me when it came to God was one, there's so many different versions living, who am I supposed to look up to when all of these people that are supposed to be parental figures either don't have something or have something completely different than the last home? So I was very confused about all of it. I didn't have a solid structure. I even went to a private school at one point in time.
Hmm.
Like it just, but nobody sat me down and like actually showed me or talked to me about the gospels or the Bible or anything like that. I just didn't have it.
Yeah, yeah. Which again shows you how important it is to be talking to people, not just take for granted that maybe they know or they don't know, but just the importance of that, right?
Yes. Well, and that's, as I'm coming into faith now and I'm learning more and more, I mean, I can't stop. I've got like 3 Bible studies a week in church and help, and it's great. Um, but I am learning that so much about life is just answered right there in the Bible. What it is to be a father, what it is to be a man, what it is to be a good human, accountability, integrity, all those things, stuff that I either didn't care about or just took willy-nilly. I didn't have structure in my spirit
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
until Jesus found me, until God found me.
So you bounced around from one house to another, which never gave you much security, not knowing what's going to happen next or
I
maybe,
was the one that took care of me all the time.
yeah.
Once I had been in the system for a few years, the only person I could depend on was me.
Hmm.
So, we all know where that leads down the road in the end. There's no, when there's no structure, there's no, well, I can give myself permission to do anything I want.
Hmm. Hmm. And if it's not good here, maybe, this one's just going to end anyway. So, why?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I would guess that you had to try and protect your heart and maybe block things off to be able to not um, let some things in.
Yeah,
Good
super guarded,
trust.
super guarded and very untrusting. It didn't matter. I just in I off the bat didn't trust anybody. And even now it's still, that's a difficult concept for me to grasp. I'm working on it. I'm not perfect, with Jesus's guidance and love, and I'm learning how to be able to trust. And it just has been a scary concept because every time I trusted, I got hurt.
Yeah.
I, and that started with, my sexual abuse when I was younger,
Mm.
when that led into, and some of the foster homes I was in, they're not good people, so I was, when one was like the other, or when there was any kind of similarity, it would just shut me off. You know what I mean? These people might go to church, but they're still foster parents. And if these foster parents go to church and these foster parents used to put me in a room for 2 days, what difference does it make?
Hmm.
It doesn't. It
Hmm.
didn't,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. And it's hard to be able to, yeah, grasp on, because even still, in your young mind, you don't have a big picture of things either. So you have to take things as they're coming, as they're learning, as you're. Did you have anybody in your life that kind of mentored you? Anybody at school or anything, anywhere that was?
Not until my adult years, until I started seeking mentorship. I had a real big problem with male authority. And then I went into the military.
Ah, how'd that work out for you?
That was kind of a short-lived stint, it's just typical male military stuff. But it wasn't until I had my son that I started recognizing that, hey, I needed to do something different to ensure that he didn't follow the path that I went down.
Mm, mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so at that point I got a pretty stable job, and the person who I called my mentor, he was somebody who worked in the same industry as me, but he had been there very long. And so I gravitated towards him, and he was a man of God. And I
mm-hmm,
still hadn't found God at the time, but he was a good man. He is a good man. And
mm-hmm.
him, so the little seeds were planted.
Well, and he must have been someone that you learned to trust.
I did. He was somebody that cared about me. And so somebody else caring, like actually caring about me, like making sure that I was doing the right thing, taking the next step, trying to advance my life in a positive direction. That was something that I wasn't used to. So
Mm-hmm,
I immediately kind of clung to that for a while.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So where did things go? Did you graduate from high school?
I did. I graduated high school.
Good.
Uh,
Congratulations.
that was kind of my stubborn self was like, because nobody else in my family, my biological sister, my parents, my aunts, my uncles, I I don't remember any of them graduating high school. So I made sure, well, that, and I had to have a diploma to go into the Marine Corps.
Oh, hmm, hmm.
So I was not about to pass that up.
Yeah.
So I passed, but I barely passed.
And then how long were you in the service?
3.5 years.
Oh, that's a respectable amount of time, I
Yeah.
think. You know. Um, what was that like for you?
Uh, that was typical. I mean, it was more structure than I was ever used to, and I really, I butted heads with a couple of my higher ups a few times because, like I said, I had a real problem with male authority.
Mm.
And so I quickly chose to not stay in.
Unfortunately, you could choose that.
Yeah,
You had the right to choose that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So when you got out, what happened? Where did you go?
Addiction. Addiction. I
Just
didn't
straight off.
find, well, I didn't find drugs or anything of the sort until I was actually in the military. And
Mm.
then as I got out, it just went crazy. And I just kind of went down a really hard path for 5 or 6 years. And then I had my son and still struggled off and on with addiction when I first had him. and then I had a pretty solid stint for 10 years.
Mm.
And
Mm.
fell off again.
How old is your son now?
He'll be 13 next month.
Oh, teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming you get him in your life. Has some
No, not
no,
right now.
not right
There
now.
was there was some damages done in my last relapse that he is choosing to not associate at the time. And I pray, and I continually send updates and stuff, but I'm not gonna force something that
Right.
there was some bad stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really went off the deep end with my last relapse, and he saw some stuff, so I don't blame him for where he's at.
Yeah. 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 So I the closest I ever got with drugs was in college, smoking a joint once and being with some people that had LSD, that I held in my hand. I thought, nah, nah, and passed it on, and I were. So how does that take you? Talk to us about addiction. What's that like? What was that like for you?
Um, well, it and I it's odd to say this, but I did different drugs for different reasons. I
Okay.
would I would do meth because I didn't like sleeping because I had nightmares.
Mm,
And then I would be up for so long that I would need to do fentanyl or heroin to kind of bring myself down off of that.
mm,
And that's where stuff got really crazy because I wouldn't have, with those opiates and stuff, your body builds a tolerance, and I had zero tolerance to it. So once I found out that I was not, I tried to kill myself with heroin and fentanyl quite a few times because I knew that my body couldn't handle it. So I'd go really, really crazy for 5 or 6 days on meth and then intentionally do fentanyl
but God
to
had
just,
other plans.
23 different times did he have other plans. Yeah. So well, and then it's funny you mentioned that because like I said, it was a very intentional act, my trying to overdose and stuff like that. And when you fail at something like that, that was what it was in my brain. Now I know that it was Jesus having his hand in my life for bigger things. But in the moment,
Yeah.
not succeeding at dying was the biggest disappointment to me.
Mm,
And that's
yeah.
scary.
Because because you had to be in such a dark place that you didn't see anything worth living for.
Absolutely. There was I had no positive outlook. And the idea of a loving God to me was a joke.
Hmm.
You know, with everything that had culminated up to a point, everything that I'd been through, it was no way. You can't tell me otherwise.
Well,
And
you didn't see Jesus in people, the real Jesus in people.
not no, no. In fact, I didn't even realize what was happening. So the last time that I overdosed, I was clinically dead for almost 15 minutes, coded out, uh, and in that time, most of the time when I would overdose, it was just kind of a black thing, and it would be for very short. But in this last time when it happened, that little kid in me that was screaming, that little kid in me that was crying, just trying to not feel anymore, I just felt like I got a hug.
Mm,
There wasn't a figure there. It wasn't like I was There was no shiny lights, no face to face anything. It was such an internal feeling to me. It was like I got the best, and somebody said it's okay,
Mm.
and I still didn't even recognize exactly what it was until later when I started figuring out church. But I know that 2 days later I was in a treatment facility, and I've never gone back.
Mm. Which is miraculous because look at how many people go through treatment and then they're out. And then, I mean, I have a niece that died with a fentanyl overdose and in and out, in and out, in and out, and in and out. And it was just,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's well, and this is where I recognize God's hand in my life, even when I didn't at the time. To get into a treatment bed, especially somebody who's on state medical, is a hurry up and wait game. You put your name on a list and they'll call you in 2 to 3 months when that bed might be available.
Hmm.
So the fact that I, within 2 days, was in a 45-day treatment facility,
Mm.
and it happened so fast. And that was here in Astoria, and I
Mm.
haven't gone back. I haven't looked back. I haven't anything. I got my job here. My job fell into place right after my treatment. I just started applying. I got an apartment right down the road from church. And
Wow.
it's like God has led so many, like, and once I stopped trying to control everything,
Mm.
once I stopped trying to force what I wanted in a situation, and allowed myself to listen,
Mm.
at my feet just kept going. At
When you grow up or when you're around a lot of things that you don't have any control over, control is all you have. To be able to survive, it's a survival skill, but fortunately, at some point for you, that changed to where, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to be the one in control all the time. It's
well,
freaky.
when I drive my ship, when I'm the captain of the ship, I tend to run aground. When I let, when I let God captain the ship, we're smooth sailing.
Yeah. So where was your point where you turned, where you found out God was the real deal?
Well, I knew once I got my apartment and I started coming to church, and I started being in crowds, was really uncomfortable, especially with how big our church can get.
Mhm.
On first service, second service, it gets. But the church and the people in the church were so welcoming, and that was so odd to me, because that wasn't something I knew, and also that was something that I previously would have shied away from,
Mhm.
because most of the time, especially in the realm of people in addiction, if people are nice to you, they want something from you.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, there's an ulterior motive or there's some manipulation or something
Yeah.
that's going to happen
they're
with
not they're not there to actually have genuine love for you. And so
Mhm.
this church has just, in so many ways, shown me what love actually is, and the people that I've met, and the fellowship that I have, and the ability to recognize it, and for them to not push me away.
Mhm.
That Because I want to be honest with people.
Mhm.
I want to be, this is where I came from, and not because I want the oh my gosh, look how far this guy has come,
Yeah.
but because
Yeah.
this is where I came from. you
Mhm.
know and
Mhm.
if anything, I want to be able to soften people's hearts to the people in where I come from.
Hmm. Hmm. What drew you to church to begin with? Did you go with somebody or you knew somebody? You just,
I literally, my apartment was right down the road from church, and it was the closest one, and I was like, I should go. And then now I just started going, and it was too easy to not go.
yeah.
Or I mean, it
It,
was
it
too.
was it was too hard not to go because it was so close and convenient.
Yeah, exactly. It was too easy to go. Like I couldn't say no. I didn't have anything else to do on Sundays. And so I started going to fill my time because in addiction, idle hands can be the devil's playground.
Hmm.
And so I started going because I knew something in my life had to change because sobriety and is not just about not using drugs.
Hmm.
It's about
They that
learning to
change your
learn.
heart.
Yeah, it's learning to change the way you think. It's learning to, and now I know that these things are sin. These things are the devil. These things are Satan getting into your brain, telling you you're not worthy, telling you that you need to feel different, telling you that if you just do it this, it's going to change this, and it doesn't happen like that. He's the master of deception.
Hmm.
I really I am grateful for where I'm at now. And I don't want to say that I'm sad that it didn't happen sooner because then I wouldn't be able to have the story that I have, the testimony that I have. God, it's so weird being grateful for that bullshit that I went through.
I know. Yeah.
It really is, but I now am able to connect with people on such a different level, and now I get to help with children's ministry.
Who would
Like,
have thought, right?
yeah, no, for real. Like 2 years ago, if you would have told me that I would have been helping with children's ministry, I would have laughed in your face.
And
And
isn't
now
it rewarding though?
it
Isn't
is
it so there's
I
so
love it. I love it so much.
absolutely
The
they're
kids are great.
energetic and they want to learn and they say funny things, but they're all, you know, but they're just but they're so open, and here I am and ready, and maybe in that position you might be drawn to somebody who was you, you know, somebody who,
Ultimate goal, and especially with uh with some of the kids that come through and stuff like that, you recognize situations in their life. And and like you said, those are the ones I'm drawn to. Those are the ones that God put me in this position for.
and you're going to be the one who sees them
Yes,
and who
yes.
says, there's a God who loves you.
Amen. Amen.
There's a God who loves you. Let me tell you about him.
Yeah,
Yeah. How exciting is that? Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
When you went through treatment and came out of there, everything just kind of falls into place. Who did you at the church, did you find people just like that invited you into like men's group or something? How did your mentoring go to be able to get you to where you are now?
So I talked when I first went. I asked Pastor John. Well, I filled out the Connect card about baptism, and so then I got to do a baptism class with Pastor John, and he was also doing a new believers study, or I believe is what it is. I don't remember the exact terminology. So I
Mhm.
started doing that as well, and then uh Chrissy Christian, our missions director.
who has something in common with you.
I uh it's so weird because I didn't have, so I had my own apartment, and I was, I have a good job. I have a very stable job. The problem is I was paying all my money into rent and stuff like that. So conveniently, there happened to be a luncheon happening at the church about missions. And so I was like, oh, free lunch. So I offered to help set up. And Chrissy just gravitated onto me. And
Oh,
I just I couldn't pass, like, I just, ever since then, Chrissy Christian, and then the people that I live with now, Doug and Laura Friant,
oh,
there's Laura came running. I was still soaking wet at my baptism. She didn't even let me dry off. She gave me a big hug and she's like, I love your story. You remind me of my kids. I want to get to know you. And a year later, I live here.
huh. Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I'm just getting to know Laura, and oh, what a dear person.
Oh,
Wow.
her and Doug are wonderful. They've done foster care. They have done some amazing things in life. So God has put me right where I get a great example of what it is to be a father, what it is to be a man and a loving mother, in a very pseudo sense. There,
Yeah,
I'm an adult and I
right.
know these things, but they are the one of the best examples God could have put me with.
That's amazing. That is so
It's,
amazing. So, tell me about the other ministries you're thinking of doing.
well, so right now, with Hearts, Helping Hands International, the people who do our mission at work, there's a position, a missionary position that is an outreach position.
Mm.
So I haven't quite got all the details of it. I am learning as it comes in. I haven't met with the director, but it's something that Chrissy has talked to me about that yes, please. I want to do this. I want to help.
That's a volunteer position?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Wow, what a blessing. What a blessing. This is just like so, and you're right, how God layers all these things, even the things that are bad. It's just like, I mean, you take the life of Joseph. Look at his brothers throw him into a pit and sell him, and then he's taken off to be, into another country and a different thing and everything. But he's in leadership, and then he's in jail, and then he's in, and he's going back and forth to being kind of a savior of the world at the time. It's just all those things that are layered together. It's just amazing.
It
Yeah.
is. And finding, I don't think there's anybody that I've met either at church or even outside of church now where, because I'm very vocal about Jesus being in my life. I wear my cross on my chest. I wear Jesus t-shirts. I do it on purpose. I do it intentionally. Let's talk about God. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. And so I have started doing a Bible study that is outside of the norm. Nobody in my Bible study goes to church, and I met that person out. I don't know, I was shopping. That's what I was doing. And we started talking to me, and now I'm in a Bible study with this guy. So,
Cool. That's so cool. What would you, I want to ask you two things. What
okay.
would you tell, um, what would you tell people who are walking next to someone that's homeless or whatever? I mean, what do you see as the best way to help somebody?
Don't give him money. No, not really. That's honesty. But uh, ask him. Don't. Oh, okay. Ask them if they need something to eat. Ask them, but don't, not in a way that's like, hey, do you want me to get you food? Let them know that they're human.
Okay.
Would you like to get something to eat with me? Sit down and have that conversation with them.
So that
Treat
you
them,
can maybe start to build a relationship.
even if you do or you don't, I can tell you that the people who made me feel like I was not invisible, who didn't look down on me, who would sit down on the curb and have a conversation with me, those are the people that I remember.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. What would you now tell your younger self?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And what I mean by that is, like, it is crazy, this the amount of gratitude that I have to Jesus for everything that I've been through. Like, I hated everything about life, and I hated everything that I'd been through. And now that I'm more, that I try to walk more with Christ, and I try, as I'm learning, this attitude of gratitude and forgiveness is immense. I would not be able now to reach the people that I can if anything about my life was changed.
Hmm.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah. That's in Corinthians.
And
The-
so that's a tough question.
yeah,
I'd probably give him a high five, like
yeah,
that's about it, but nothing about it. It gets better.
yeah, yeah,
it, this too shall pass. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, we're almost at the end of our time. What is one last thing you'd like to leave with our listeners, viewers?
um uh to be open to hearing the gospel from multiple sources.
Mm.
I don't just listen to Pastor John, and I'm not talking about just social media stuff, but I have opened my horizons to the word of God and the people that I listen to a guy that preaches in prison, and I catch more of what he says than some other people. But
Mhm.
expand your theological brain. Don't be so close-minded.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
like good advice. Oh, well, Bartholomew, thank you so much. I just really appreciate this time I've got to spend with you, and I look forward to more time.
I will see you later. Thank you so much. And God bless you.